Hello, welcome to another episode of Frack The Canon. This time, we are starting with some great news. Sarah, please tell us your news and show us
I'm
that
engaged.
bling bling.
I'm engaged to get married. I'm really excited.
And as of now, today is September 12th, 5 o'clock. How long ago did you get engaged?
Like 2 hours ago.
Old news, old news. Congratulations, Sarah. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited.
That's good. That's good. Now, what we really came to talk about, the important stuff. Because Sarah demanded it, and I guess you guys did too. The Mandalorian. So, Sarah, you're the biggest Star Wars nerd than all of us. Start us off with about what is the Mandalorian?
Well, the Mandalorian they're really like a race. They're like a culture of mercenaries. If I'm wrong, correct me on any of these, but I feel like you can be a Mandalorian even if you aren't born as a Mandalorian. Like you can become a Mandalorian, and basically the famous one, Boba Fett is from the original series, and you pay them to do jobs, and it's part of their religion almost to do these jobs to the best of their ability, and the Mandalorian is just a story of one of the people from this community, and has probably the best, well, not the best, one of the best characters, that is Baby Yoda. So it's also Disney Plus's first Star Wars original programming that they released.
Baby Yoda took the world by storm because, as we know, most of you guys know, we're a very timely comic show. So this came out a year ago. We're doing it now, a month before the new season drops. So CJ, what are your thoughts on the Mandalorian?
Yeah, I always thought the idea of the Mandalorian is cool because of how he looks, and because of how popular Boba Fett is, right? Like, and that's like one of the biggest things as to why Boba Fett is so popular is how he looks. It's not his personality. You know what I mean? He only had like 5 lines in the whole original series. But here you have a character that like sort of embodies what's cool about Boba Fett, but you make him so much more interesting because you are now kind of explaining like this whole Mandalorian culture, which I knew nothing about and is infinitely interesting. Like kind of Sarah was sort of alluding to, it's not necessarily a race. I
know who he is. It's Moff Gideon.
No. Moff Gideon was executed for war crimes.
It's him. He knew my name.
So, what does that prove?
I haven't heard that name spoken since I was a child.
On Mandalore?
I was not born on Mandalore.
But you're a Mandalorian.
Mandalorian isn't a race.
It's a creed.
But like it's like more of a religion, more of like this creed, more of like this way of life, this thing that like they just are compelled to do. And it is interesting, and like how it sort of like someone like me who didn't really understand any of it, but throughout the course of this season it slowly illuminated to me like, okay, like now I can kind of understand like what these characters are, even though I've been exposed to them slowly over my entire life, because there's always, I remember playing like Star Wars, the Knights of the Old Republic on like the original Xbox, and like other video games and other Star Wars like cartoons and stuff, where they sort of expose you to these characters that are Mandalorians. And I don't really know what this means, but now it's like I can go back and appreciate like, oh, I know what a Mandalorian is kind of now, you know what I mean?
Awesome. All right, Tyler, if you're here and you can hear us, your thoughts on the season of Mandalorian?
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you guys.
Perfect. Alrighty, it took forever.
Analog technology to get here.
Frack you, Zoom.
Basically, I loved it. Yeah, I think what makes it so fantastic is so simple, and I think I'd like to send out some praise to Jon Favreau, who isn't like obsessed with spectacle and just making everything huge and epic. It's he just kept it simple, and the story is literally just circled around a couple characters, and like we don't have to be introduced to hundreds of characters like Star Wars Star Wars has always done,
Mhm.
and taking us through the journey of learning, like what has been already stated is how it's just a simple story where you learn about what Mandalorian is, and the title of simply The Mandalorian is perfect for the super simple yet super entertaining show.
And that's very true. Like I found myself very interested, intrigued in the story. I did take some breaks, but it felt like a slow burn, but it was leading to something. I actually felt I learned a lot more about the Star Wars universe, and I cared for these characters a lot more in this show than I ever did for either of the previous movies or anything. And something that someone pointed out to me or I read online was that it feels like Star Wars version of Lone Wolf and Cub. Like, you know, the mentor or the journeyman, the mercenary guarding, which I mean, no, it is that. Mandalorian is Lone Wolf and Cub. But I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I'm surprised how much I enjoyed watching Gina Carano, Carl Weather, and who's the dude at the end with the black lightsaber? Who's that dude? He was awesome.
Juan Carlo Esposito.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm like, dude, that dude is amazing. That dude is a good villain. But again, like everyone said, my favorite thing in that show was Baby Yoda. I think he was, and it's Baby Yoda. I'm not gonna call it the child what they want to. It's Baby Yoda until they give.
It should be Baby Yoda. That's what everyone calls him, the child.
What I mean, because what is Yoda's race? We don't know his race. What is the race?
I
They
know,
need to
but they
tell us
could.
more about Yoda.
What's up, DJ?
I mean, they could have called it the child's race. You know what I mean? Like a baby, whatever the heck they're called. You know, and that would have been illuminating. Like I, for one, am in that camp. You know what I mean? Like, because we don't know what Yodas are called except for Yoda, and that's why everybody calls it Baby Yoda, because nobody knows what a Yoda is called.
Touche.
Maybe
Indeed.
we'll find out in season 2.
That would be cool. All right. So what are your predictions for season 2?
We're gonna find Granny Yoda.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I do think season 2 is going to be very Yoda related, Yoda race related.
Do we know anything besides the casting, right? Because they're wrapped. Yeah, well, I mean they're wrapped up because it's coming out next month. Do we know anything about?
Yeah, wasn't Ashoka supposed to be in it?
Yeah, Rosario Dawson
I heard
playing
that.
Ashoka.
Yeah, that's the only thing I heard.
All right, so for the uninitiated like myself, who is Ashoka?
Ahsoka is Anakin Skywalker's Padawan.
Yeah.
He was in the Clone Wars a lot, the animated series. Basically, Anakin's training her to be a Jedi. And she I don't actually know what happened. I never watched the Clone Wars, which actually I kind of regretted after watching The Mandalorian, because I think there's some Easter eggs from the Clone Wars in it, is what I've been told. Like, you know more about things if you did watch the Clone Wars. But yeah, it'd be cool to have her back, though. I also kind of like that this one stands on its own and it's in the universe but doesn't have any callbacks to any of the main series. So I'm excited but also apprehensive.
Go ahead, TJ. Sorry.
No, I would just say I would echo that sentiment. Because you know I didn't hate the character Ahsoka. She was fine, and but yeah, like that idea that this was something that was like removed from the greater Star Wars story was something that I always appreciated about The Mandalorian. Because when it comes down to it, if you want to make something like last as a franchise, like kind of like it felt like Disney was trying to treat Star Wars kind of like the Marvel MCU. And I feel like when it comes down to it, if you want to treat something like that, you have to have separate limbs. You know, you have to have like these separate story threads that like don't really have anything to do with each other necessarily, because otherwise if it's all like the same like Skywalker kind of story, you know what I mean, like then it just, I don't know, I feel like it gets boring after a while, or it's just like more of this same thing, you know what I mean. But The Mandalorian, by contrast, felt like a breath of fresh air, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that it like had its own room to breathe, the fact that it existed like so by itself, sort of.
So what do you?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Sara. Go ahead, sorry.
my bad. Just to echo that really quick, and I think that's what a huge thing that's wrong with like the movie franchise right now is it has to be space wizards that save everything, and it always is. But I think that disconnects the audience from like the characters a little bit because it's so inhuman. But us having human characters to follow, or at least they are aliens, but not space wizard characters, I think helps connect us.
I agree. I think it made it a lot more relatable. I actually cared a lot for the Mandalorian. I like that. Like it was episodic. To me, it felt like a western. I'm like, oh, this is a western in space, like it should have been. But no, like it was like I liked the that it was episodic, but there was a little bit of an overarch of a story, and it all accumulated in the last episode. I'm like, okay, everything came in, everything kind of. But all right, what was your favorite character in The Mandalorian besides Baby Yoda and The Mandalorian?
What?
Yes, we all love The Mandalorian.
I like the lady that I don't know her name. The lady that the Mandalorian meets, the other like mercenary type lady that he gets to help him save that village. Yeah, I really liked her.
Yeah, she's pretty.
Yeah, well, it's nice also to have like a strong woman in the series, like to add some diversity again to the Star Wars universe, which started out very male and white. To have a lady in a position of power, it was and she knew the Mandalorian, she understood him, and I liked her as a character.
CJ Tyler.
That's not the character I'm gonna say, but to like jump off of that, like I really loved their little, speaking of like really strong women, I love their like total bromance that they had with each other. Like especially at the end, you know what I mean? Like it was like so touching, like, you know, she's like, I won't leave you, like kind of a thing, you know what I mean? No, he's all like dying, like, no, get out of here. The classic thing, you know what I mean? But anyways, freaking I will make the robot, freaking Taika Waititi, the robot, freaking what a delight that character was in every scene he was in.
Tyler?
Yeah, the droid bounty hunter was also my favorite. I think it was IG-11. But then just to pick another one, a collection of characters in an episode.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the episode where they went to that prison ship to bail out the dude, and he went with the old like bounty hunter crew he used to roll with, and then he had to hunt them all down. Like that's a bit of a spin-offy episode of, not spin-offy, but off the plot episode, but yeah. it really was really cool episode that really made the Mandalorian look awesome, and all that collection of characters I see as like one character.
That was the filler episode, right? The one with Bill Burr.
Yeah,
that was a good one. Dude, what was all right, so I was, because it kept bugging me, and I forgot about it. But I was watching the recaps. Was that Clancy Brown is one of the aliens?
Not sure. I'll check IMDb.
That sounds. It's been a while since I watched that episode, but like now that you say that sounds kind of.
Because it sounded like him. I'm like, is that Lex Luthor? But you know, so it's a tie between Gina Carano and what is her character's name? What is that character's name? I don't remember.
I watched it back in December, so I haven't seen it since December. So I don't remember all the details.
Thus proving our timeliness in entertainment media.
That's funny. See, that's her excuse. I just watched the last 2 episodes today where they said her name multiple times, and I can't.
Yes, it was.
It was Clancy Brown.
Yeah, it was Clancy Brown.
That's awesome. I like that episode. That was a good episode. Mostly because I like Bill Burr. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But so for my favorite characters, I'm tied with IG-11 and Cara Dune. I think your name is Cara Dune. I think that's it. Between them, but I just liked it when he was fighting with the stormtroopers, and he pretty much was talking back. I'm like, dude, this is the sassiest robot I've ever seen in this universe. Like, not C-3PO, not the dude from Rogue One. Like, this dude is sassy, and Taika Waititi is just amazing. I'm like,
how about that moment? Just a little break here. How about that moment where they call attention to how horrible stormtroopers aim is. They're both they're like just talking like those two stormtroopers. They have Baby Yoda, and they're just like shooting the shit kind of a thing. And there's like this can sitting in the sand, and they're both trying to shoot it, and they're like horribly off. Like their aim is like horribly off or whatever. But I mean, I thought that scene was great, by the way. Like I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
That was amazing. And I was watching. I'm like, when I was watching this, I'm like, oh, this feels like something that people love. Star Wars. They love this universe. It felt like people. And then I was watching the gallery. It's kind of the making of, and every muffle that behind the scenes in that show, just like love it. I guess there were just so many. There's so many references to shit that I didn't know about, like something about Woodrow's Run, or whatever. Some dude with, I guess it's episode 2. There's a dude running with the ice cream maker, and they use that again in this episode. I guess they brought back some gun from the holiday special. Like they're just all little Easter eggs. I'm like, I would have never known that if I hadn't have seen this at all. Sarah, you're the biggest Star Wars fan I know. Did you catch any of these references?
I got some of again, my strength is in the original series.
So you're not a Star Wars fan. That's what I'm hearing.
I am a Star Wars fan, but I'm a prequel denier. And
so then you're not a Star Wars fan.
So I mean, I got the ones that were, related to what the original run was. Like the stormtroopers not being able to hit anything, which has been like annoying to fans forever. It's like, how bad are these people if their one job is to like shoot people? So I definitely appreciate it. I think it'd be hard to make Star Wars production in these days without at least having a few fans involved, just because the fandom is so widespread, and then you are able to get, I think, more stuff into him just because you have that extra oomph in the production.
It's funny you say that, because in that making of episode they were saying that they needed more people to come in, so one of the producers called in 501 Legion and brought them to be extras on that. So they're like, so now we're screen used. Like it was like, I'm not a Star Wars fan, but it was seeing their eyes of excitement. I'm like, oh my god, this is so amazing. It made me happy for them. It made me happy to see them happy. They were just
well, those people spend hours on their costume
because they're nerds. That's why.
Well, it's like real. It's like
it was awesome because they have no lives. I'm kidding. I appreciate you. Please don't.
Hey, with the first year I went to WonderCon, they had stormtroopers doing crowd control, and it was just it's so awesome, like what the fandom does.
That is pretty cool. All right, what do you guys want to talk? Sarah? What do you want to talk about? Anything topic we haven't talked about that you want to talk about Mandalorian?
Maybe touch on like the production of like they used a lot of special technology. I think I don't know. I don't know if anyone else knows anything about it, but they basically, I think a lot of the backgrounds were virtual backgrounds and like instant virtual backgrounds. So like instead of having a green screen, I think they actually like projected. I don't know. Does anyone know anything more about that?
Yeah. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah. There's a special episode of Corridor Crew, which is a YouTube channel which goes like into that technology and how it's made for like 20 minutes, and then they got special access to the Mandalorian set, which is literally just a dome screen the size maybe of a television studio, and like 90% of the show is not shot outside, shot in this little virtual set, and it's a video game engine they use to shoot it, and the directors and VPs, everyone behind the camera could see the virtual set live while they're shooting it.
Yeah, I saw that the making of Mandalorian on Disney Plus, and yeah, exactly like you said, it's a virtual set, and I guess one of the producers came in and walks in, he goes, "Tell me you're gonna build anything," and they're like, because it looks so real, because you would see them. So for example, they would switch from being on a desert planet to being out in space. I'm like, wait, what? Because it's a virtual dome, like Tyler said, and it's around your. It's pretty cool, and as filmmakers, as people in video production, I'm like, this is going to change how we do things. I don't know.
Yeah, and with sorry, just really quick, with what's going on in the world and how it's going to affect travel for production, I feel like that's going to be like the future of filmmaking.
Agreed. I mean, for a minute, I think for a bit, I think you're gonna get purists like Christopher Nolan, who like you got to go out there, you got to go shoot real locations. But it's interesting, but it's kind of at the same time kind of like kind of cool to go out every now and then, you know. But yeah, anything else we should talk about?
I really like about the series, and I really haven't been able to pinpoint what it is about it that does this, but I really like how it not only does it feel very unique to anything that we've seen Star Wars, but it also very much feels distinctly Star Wars, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like it feels very unique, but it also feels like within like the first 5 minutes of watching this, it's like this is different from anything Star Wars I've seen, but at the same time, this is very Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, and I really haven't been able to pinpoint what it is exactly about it that does that for me, but I feel instantly like this Star Wars connection to it. And I think I really appreciate that about the series.
I think what it is, I can't believe I know this, is because we're not following a rebel, we're not following the Empire, we're following just a lone man by himself, trying to stay out of all of it and just make his life. But still, he's surrounded by the rebellion, by TIE fighters, by stormtroopers. Like that one shot from the Apocalypse Now shot with the stormtroopers' heads on the spikes. Like, that's dope.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're surrounded by the lore of what is Star Wars, but we were following this man who has no ties to either. He's just trying to make a buck. That's what I think it is, and I think I like to see more of that. No more of this. Well, we're done with the Skywalkers. We're done with the Palpatines. More of that. If we get more Star Wars, I want to see more of that. Other stuff outside of the galaxy.
Well, Disney said they wanted. Well, I've heard that Disney is alluding that they might want to reboot the trilogy that just ended.
Are you?
Reboot?
So.
I hope not.
Yeah, I heard something that they might say that, you know, they want like recanon everything. So I hope that's not for a long time if they do, because I am also exhausted with all of the that stuff, because like this whole last trilogy wasn't really even that connected to Skywalker. Even it was just like the whole thing at the end with Palpatine just it didn't make sense. So yeah, keep it to stuff like Rogue One, Mandalorian. I wouldn't mind more prequel stuff like the Solo story, honestly.
Anything that you want to talk about, Tyler, before that you want to add that you liked about Mandalorian?
Yeah. Just like, well, I want to give a shout out to Jon Favreau, who is a real wizard in this whole process. Like, John, like, there's also some kind of rumblings of Kathleen Kennedy, you know, getting off the throne of Skywalker of Lucas for Disney, and Jon Favreau being a potential next heir. And I completely support that, because he kind of has a real sense for like what works.
Yeah.
You know, he's pretty much the guy responsible for, you know, Robert Downey Jr. becoming Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm.
And that I don't think there's any other casting for Iron Man that would have worked that well, that would have spurred the MCU. And I think Favreau understands that it's not the epic visual effects that pulls people into audience seats. It's the engaging stories that really want people to come back. And The Mandalorian is just a hint of what I think Favreau can bring to the table.
Well said. He is definitely one of my favorite directors. Now, like comic book wise stuff, he's fun. Like I didn't know he wrote every single episode of The Mandalorian. Like that was all him.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, and he worked a lot on set with like the other directors.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, because they have cameos in the episode. I guess when they're in that planet and like that prison planet, not prison planet, Wrong franchise. That prison ship, like you were saying. Sarah, what are your recommendations?
Well, everyone should give suggestions. I kept trying to think of a happier one, but I really want to recommend The Handmaid's Tale for people that haven't seen it yet. Just go in knowing that it's dark and sad.
What is it about? Give us a one log line. What's that of the whole show?
It's like women can't get pregnant, and so basically society converts into this authoritarian dystopia where women are basically as like wombs. And there's a lot of rape and abuse and there's all this other stuff, but it's really good. I just finished season 3 and I was all sad that season 4 doesn't come out until next year. So I want to know what happens, but it's really good, but know that it's also sad. Like don't watch it if you're in a sad mood.
All right, Tyler and CJ, who's got one?
I got one Star Wars related.
Okay.
The Genki Tartakovsky Clone Wars. It was a 2-hour long in total animated bridge between episode 2 of the prequels and episode 3, or Clone Wars, and the Anakin losing his mind one. But it really makes the prequels work. It really establishes how Anakin descended, and it also, in some ways, makes the Mandalorian better, even if it's no longer canon. And I honestly think it's better than the new Clone Wars series that was released.
CJ.
All right, I'll choose the last thing that I binge watched on Netflix, which is called High Score. If you guys are familiar with like the toys that made us and the movies that made us, I don't know if it's the same people who made it, but it feels very much like those.
Feels like it does.
It's basically the video game version of those series. And I just kind of threw it on and ended up watching the entire thing before I was finished. But I mean, I'm a big video game like nerd anyway, but it was really cool. Like they pretty much focus on the origins of a lot of things video games. Like the first episode is like the origin of all video games, and then they kind of like move on. Episode 2 is like the origin of Nintendo. Episode 3 is like the origin of Sega / them trying to fight Nintendo. Episode the next there's a RPG origin episode. There's a fighting game origin episode. It's just a really cool series if you're into video games and that kind of history and that kind of info. I would recommend it.
So mine is, because I've been watching it 5 times. It came out, and I'm telling everyone to watch it. Mine is Cobra Kai. We got 2 seasons. It is a redemption story about Johnny Lawrence, the evil Karate Kid. And it's about him making up his trying to redeem himself in not his son, but his student. He sees a lot of his flaws in him, and he tries to correct them. He goes, "This is what I've done wrong." There's a lot of Easter eggs to the movies. You flash back to Mr. Miyagi and Karate and the Karate Kid. Season 2, they bring in Kreese, and you see the tension between Johnny and Kreese fighting. And then there's a lot of gray in, like, the Karate Kid movie was black and white, like Cobra Kai bad, Miyagi good. But the series, like, there's a lot of gray. Like, maybe Daniel isn't right all the time. Like, Daniel, you go off misinformation, and then Johnny's like, you're reacting, you're being hot-headed, calm down. It's really well done. And then the karate scenes are just freaking amazing. I like Karate Kid. I love that show. That's why I got that freaking 16 stitches in my leg when I was 5. I tried to do the crane kick. And then I went through the glass door. Yes, Karate Kid.
Shout out, that's it.
What's up?
I was saying that's a YouTube product, YouTube Premium.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
It's on Netflix.
Not anymore. I
on
originally
Netflix.
traded by.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
it was going to be on Netflix, but they got bid by YouTube. So now it's...
Yeah.
Yes, but watch it. Everyone.
Yeah, now it's back to Netflix.
I suggest everyone watch it. I want to do... Next episode we do will be about Cobra Kai, whenever everyone watches it. Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you same fracking time, same fracking channel. Frack off.